You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket, when unheard issues get brought to light and every perspective counts. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
All right, it is Sunday evening. I see Mr. Ricky Simmons is arriving, so hopefully he can get in here. It is Sunday night in Lincoln, Nebraska. We're on O Street. It's a great Sunday because the Huskers won yesterday. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Appropriate for a Sunday. And Miss Aniko's Eagles won today.
Yes, we did.
And the Commanders are playing tomorrow, so we'll see. But they're playing the Chiefs. So for some people who live in Nebraska and are expected to cheer for the Chiefs, we might just have to veer off and cheer for the Commanders tomorrow. But we'll see how it goes. How you doing tonight, Aniko?
I'm doing well after that win, and we got a bye week coming up, so it's all smooth sailing from here.
Well, you beat the Giants. That's good. We can unite.
Yeah, they're our Cowboys. So
yes. Oh my gosh. Well, what was I going to say? Oh, I saw some pictures of you in your costume with Mr. Nate. You pulled off Elphaba. I can never say it right.
Yep,
Elphaba, correct?
Elphaba, and he was Hawks from My Hero Academia for all our anime fans out there. It was a good time.
Nice. All right. Well, Halloween's creeping up on us. We got a couple, not even a couple weeks. It's next week.
Friday.
Where does the time go? Doggone it. All right. Well, here we are. It's Walk the Herd. For anybody tuning in, we are 93.7 The Ticket. This is Walk the Herd with me, Rebecca Pearson, Aniko, Renee on the stream. And we have a great show for you tonight. So if you're new to the show, let's just give you a little bit of the rundown. First of all, don't forget, if you're a ticket listener, you can listen to, or you can text or call 402-464-5685. And you can chat in on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Watch us on Allo Channel 961. And if you're traveling and you're worried about you're going to be out of range, download our app, listen to us. Lots of ways to connect. We definitely want to engage with you. So drop us a message if you like the show or you want to hear about a certain topic. And for those who aren't familiar with the show, Walk the Herd is a place where each week we explore different perspectives. And it could be literally about anything. And it's intended to challenge your beliefs and address your open mind, hopefully. And it could be sports, business, life, or anything. And tonight's show, we are not ever trying to convince you about anything, just to take a walk in another person's shoes or hear another side. And tonight's show, we've got something for everybody. We're going to talk about spenders and savers. So it doesn't matter who you are. You can relate to this, I'm sure. And if you're one of those people that's a little bit of both, we want to hear from you. But tonight is about spenders and savers. So we're glad you could join us. We have a great show. What's going on your end, Aniko?
Yeah, I'm excited. We're big on storytelling here, and every wallet tells a story. So some have a story of security, comfort, quiet rebellion these days. So we're stepping into the shoes, like you said, of both savers and spenders. And it's really to understand the why of both sides, not to judge either. There's usually a heart behind the habit is what I'm thinking going into this.
I like that. A heart behind the habit. A human behind everything.
Yes.
And Jake and I were laughing just before we went on air about, we're all just humans. So last week, I had someone who was listening to our shows. We did our little riddle on, if there was a doctor and there was an accident and the kid went to the surgeon and, that whole riddle. So if you missed the show, listen to that. But someone that I know listened and also didn't get it right. And we were just kind of chuckling about how it's so obvious in hindsight, which is what we hope to do here, is to bring you different perspectives that seem quite obvious once you hear the other side. So great show. I'm ready to dive into it. Now, Aniko, as usual, we've discussed, but we haven't actually chatted. So we don't know where this conversation is going. We don't even know which side or down the middle or off to the left or off to the right either one of us is. So we can start a little bit with that. And I don't know. I've got a thought on how to kick it off, but would you like to give it a go?
Oh, you go right ahead.
Okay. So I did a little research. My research is on the internet, ChatGPT, a little bit of talking to people, reflecting, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I wanted to kind of hold up is as spenders and savers. I don't know if you're listening, can you relate? Do you immediately say, I'm a spender or I'm a saver? So I think there's a lot of people that just feel like they're one or the other. I'm a spender or I'm a saver. I'm gonna tell you that I probably relate a little bit more to the saving mentality. But one of the questions I had for myself was, what does that exactly mean? Like, if I think I'm a saver, what exactly does that mean? Because certainly in my younger years, and especially in my early 20s, I had just gotten a job. I don't have a lot of expenses other than just the roof over my head and food and gas and going to the bars, right? My major expense was buying alcohol at the bars. So I would have said I was quite the spender then. You don't have anything. You're liberated from your parents. You're excited. You've got money, and you're spending. And so I feel like relative to that, I'm a saver. But I know people that I think are much more significantly in the saving camp than me. So I believe it's really on a spectrum. And one of the things that came up in the research was maybe thinking of money as a mirror. So does how you treat money reflect maybe even how you are today? You may be different tomorrow versus maybe how you were way back when, like me, or once a spender, always a spender, once a saver, always a saver. So if you look in the mirror and do this little research and reflect, there are a couple of ideas that came up that I want you to react to. So one is that if you're a saver, maybe you do that because there's a fear of losing security. There's some security in saving your money for a rainy day, let's say. And if you're a spender, maybe you're fearing losing your survival or things that you want to do. Now, these don't have to be the perspectives, and there may be nobody who can relate to those, but what's your reaction to that? What was your first reaction to that? Because I sent that to you. So what was your first reaction to that, Nico?
I think I felt a little twinge of guilt myself because I consider myself a spender, just coming from a place, of not having security before you and my dad came back into my life necessarily financially. So things are a lot more immediate, a lot more in the present, and you're like you said, survival. It very much affects how I will often put things off until the last minute, or it's an emergent need versus taking care of something where the cost could be smaller earlier by addressing it. My mirror is ever changing, so I'm hoping to graduate into the savers category, but there's been a lot of lessons, a lot of learning, and just unlearning as well, experiences you have as a child of trying to just get what's tangible, which is what's immediate, and not necessarily having a guarantee that there will be something to save.
Sure. And I think for me personally, a lot of what has shaped me is my environment. And I'm guessing a lot of people have this. So when you're a child, you grow up around your parents. We all pick up stuff from our parents because as children, that's it. That's the role model or the adults around us. Let's put it that way, because everybody comes up a different way, right? But you're looking at the adults around you, and that's what you at least initially learn. And I certainly was impacted by my parents, who, for whatever reason, were two peas in a pod, keeping ledgers and journals. And, we didn't have spreadsheets in those days, but they might as well have. Each one of them, both of them had a notebook. We had budgets every month. We had budgets going to the grocery store. Like, it was budget haven. Had an allowance, had to do certain things, right? I grew up in this environment in my childhood. So at the very minimum, I had role models, both male and female, mom and dad in my case, that did that kind of stuff. And, I've talked to other people where a role model on however they handle money may not have been in existence, or didn't have, maybe they were close, but didn't have exposure to that, didn't know how the adults around them handled it. What do you think? Do you feel like the environment would affect you in any case? Not even just necessarily you personally, but other people that you know?
Yeah, definitely. And especially working in public health, you learn that when you are in high risk areas or neighborhoods or populations, there's less access to healthcare, there's less access to, you know, affordable housing. You're further away from a lot of things. So that can change your mindset as well. But I think one of the other things personally is generational wealth or lack thereof. I've mentioned before, my biological mom's family is from West Bygod, Virginia. And, a lot of people were taken advantage of by coal companies. Currency was not even real currency. It was these vouchers that you could only spend at those stores. So you kind of get the mindset of credit. And when you're in those situations and trying to break away from that and start over yourself, a lot of times credit seems like the correct option because it's like, wow, I have a credit card. Like what? So I can
Free
get steak this time, and it's like, you don't really, now I'm learning the effect of interest, but it's like, that wasn't even, once you moved into the big city, that was something.
Yeah.
West Virginia's come a long way too, by the way, not talking bad about them, but just saying, my mom was a child of the
Really that
60s.
far out there, yes.
Yeah. So it was like all these things were up and coming, digital banking and things like that weren't considered. So if you weren't taught it, how would you know?
Right. I mean, that's the reality. How would you know? Now, I don't know if you remember this in school, either grade school or high school. I remember it in high school. I don't necessarily remember it in grade school, but in high school, we were taking accounting classes. We were taught to how to write checks, which just makes me laugh. I'm seriously doubting they teach that today. Nobody knows what a check is. It's like vinyl. Nobody knows what it is, but we were taught how to write checks. We were taught how to open a bank account, all kinds of crazy things like that. Did you have that at that level?
Nope. I graduated in 2010 and we did not have anything like that. We had the last little bit of home ec where we did, baking or took home the baby dolls that cried to teach you things of that matter, but there was no financial literacy. If you were in, advanced calculus, you probably got a little bit of that, but otherwise, no. I went to my mom to learn how to write a check and what that meant, but my brother, who's 20 going on 21, has no idea, would not know it if you saw it.
So money is all digital, right? And one of the things I've learned, and there's so many things we can talk about in this area, but one of the things I've learned is certainly visibility and awareness of money is necessary. Unless you have infinite wealth and really, really could never spend whatever you have, there's a lot of logic to watching money because no matter how good you are at math and no matter how smart you are, it's really impossible to keep track of where your money goes. You might have a general idea, but stuff adds up. And if you don't see it, then you really have no idea where the money goes. And it can be very eye-opening when you're spending money as to where it goes, simply because at some point, if you have a choice or you need to choose because you have fewer dollars than you'd like to have, then knowing where your money goes and how you choose to spend it becomes incredibly important for being able to keep things going.
Definitely. I think when you first started helping me, I was in the habit of knowing like, well, I know that I'm not going to necessarily have enough as a single mom. So I rather go to the ATM and pay one overdraft fee of $40 and take out this big wad of cash and operate that way instead of a bunch having multiple transactions. And now I know like maybe just leave it alone. Maybe, maybe just let it be and then get that solid standing ground and foundation. But for some people, especially right now, I understand the feeling of that not being an option can bring shame too, and makes it a little harder to look at things.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I love that you're willing to share that. And just, the whole concept of shame, it hurts my heart, because the reality is, and you said this in some of the response back as we were trading notes and getting ready, in this context of survival, survival becomes your only currency, especially if you've never had security. And you're fighting for, we'll talk about Maslow's hierarchy maybe after the first break, because it's interesting. I'm in marketing. This is always studies Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's very important. And I know you think about this and you're aware of Maslow as well. But what I liked about what you said here was the mirror doesn't reflect recklessness, right? It's just because someone maybe doesn't keep track of their money the way someone else does, or overspends when they don't have something, or, you know, whatever it is you're thinking, doesn't necessarily mean they're reckless. It could simply be education choices, awareness, a million other things, literally a shortage of money, right? Which just drives its own level of survival. And I loved the last thing that you had here was that it reflects resilience. And I think that's one of the great lessons we can all learn when it comes to money management is resilience. You can fall off the horse and get back on. There's so much help out there for people who are willing to want to, if they end in the spending category and spending more than they have. Now, just because you're a spender doesn't mean you're spending more than you have.
Precisely.
Right? People that just spend for other reasons. So maybe we explore some of these other reasons. What did you discover in your research? Can you give us two perspectives then on spenders and savers, or some different perspectives?
What a solid example that I grew up seeing was, you know, sometimes not being able to live anywhere other than a quote unquote low income neighborhood, and seeing a lot of the African American community have really nice cars, really nice shoes, all of these things, but living in these communities. And a lot of people would ask, you know, why are you doing that? But it's like, when for generations and hundreds of years, you were not allowed to have, there was no option to be the have, just the have not. And you were only allowed to put on, you know, nice fancy clothes while you were being taken to church, not even choosing to go to church. That it's like, any money that I have, I'm going to spend how I want. I'm going to show you that I'm fine, and I'm going to be proud of it. So there's that aspect as well.
Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, I remember in my early 20s having, for whatever reason, I had more exposure maybe to, and I didn't have a lot of money, but my family grew up, I'm just going to say sort of average middle income, kind of like that. And so in my 20s, I had friends all over the map of means, let's say. And I remember some of my African American friends that had nice shoes and nice cars. And I don't remember how the conversation came up. I don't think I would have been brave enough to say, hey, because I would be at their house, you know, which maybe didn't quite look like the cars and the shoes or whatever. But there was
hey, very clean though.
Yeah,
very
but
clean.
but it was a choice. And then there's the, you know, I can't presume how they felt, but that's a visible thing to the outside world. And in a world like this that maybe isn't very forgiving and accepting, especially back in the 80s, I could see why wanting to demonstrate I'm okay would be important to people who are judging you by
Yes.
the art and the clothes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, does that
Yeah,
still resonate today? It's similar to what you said.
and to tie it back, you know, not just to my African American side, but to my white side, just circling back to credit, being able to be approved for credit absolutely helps you live outside your means. Just because it's not as flashy or you don't look as good doing it does not mean that you don't, yeah, you have a 2-car garage with 2 cars, but you've also, you know, maybe had to file for bankruptcy, or perhaps, you know, you owe the bank more. So therefore the person on the street with $5 technically has more money than you because they don't owe someone. Like, that was a different perspective to learn growing up as well.
Sure. Well, and credit is a good thing. There's a reason credit exists. It is a good thing. It's always about managing the credit. This is true in business too. I love to talk about business because a lot of people in business I meet, this always makes me crack up. In fact, I'll have to talk to Matt in the business show about this, but I'm sure he sees the same way as I am. Like, it's healthy to have credit in a business. If you pay everything off, that is not a good strategy in a business, because there are benefits to having loans and debt. And when you're looking at companies, there's a real improved money management philosophy and strategy that goes with almost every company about taking on debt. You really don't want to pay everything in cash. Which, you know, can be a similar concept in your personal life as well. It's only when things get away from you and you don't have a way to manage all that it becomes a problem. But, you know, credit's not bad by any stretch.
Even that, I had no idea that businesses would want to have any type of debt. To me, the goal still in my brain a little bit is to be debt free. There's, you know, talks and seminars and things about that. So I would still assume and have assumed that that is the goal. I
Yeah.
know you want to build it, and I know you should, for those young people listening, get a credit card, fill up your gas tank, or get your groceries once a month, pay that off. Like, that's how you build it. But I didn't know that there should still be a surplus. So that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, right? In general, when you don't have a lot, I think staying debt free can be good. But the reality is, credit is there to help people bridge. You have emergencies. You make choices then if you have to pay bills, right? There's all kinds of things going on, and I think really what you and I are always trying to do on this show is to keep people, try to help them understand, not to judge, but to understand, to walk in someone else's shoes and understand why they might be doing something. Don't
Yeah,
always assume, right? And
absolutely.
if you're just, if you, for whatever reason, have less money than someone else, and somehow that puts you in a spender category, I still think there's people with plenty of money that are spenders. Completely different philosophy. They have plenty of money and they're spenders, and there's people with plenty of money that are savers. And
Yeah.
so, why is that? And when we were doing research, I thought some of that was fascinating to me, right? There's an emotional connection to spending. There's a freedom, and a liberty that comes with spending. And then there's, the security issue for savers for something, or maybe they've got something specific they want to save for that they'd rather
Yeah.
spend money on.
Or if you're the first person to come up in the family and be able to be a spender and you have all this money, a lot of people assume people go bankrupt or lose their money because of excessive spending. But it's like, no, you're putting your family on the payroll, you're employing this person, you're paying for this person's home who never had running water, and
Right.
you can't keep up with what you're assisting in spending. So there's that aspect too.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about some of these because I think I found these super fascinating. One of them is the cognitive load. And I want to come back and talk about trade and barter because let's do that first because you were talking about West Virginia. And I don't know what it was you said to me, but I was thinking about, back in the olden days, before you or I were born, and in the early days of settlement of the United States, when they didn't have currency or common currency or anything else. I mean, the whole world ran on barter or trade. So people were trading their goods for services, all kinds of stuff was happening where no money was involved. And that concept still exists today. It's actually quite a common thing in the media business to do things that we call trade, where you're giving one thing for another thing in value. And that's also still can be a great strategy, even personally, to try to stretch your resources. If you know how to do something, if you know how to sew, if you know how to cook, maybe you can bridge a gap by offering services. That still works.
And see, again, in my brain, I would have assumed that that was done and over with, and that everyone is in some aspect struggling or trying to get ahead. And
Mhm.
you go to the market, both here and in Lincoln, and you see people selling their baked goods and their crafts and things. So I would just assume, again, that that is for income to supplement something that may not be there. And again, that's probably my personal experience coming back into it, but it really does affect how you think about money all the time.
Yeah. And some people just do that because it's fun. That's where they get their joy from. And if they make a few bucks, that's great. And if they don't, that's great. They're meeting people. I mean, again, there's so many different reasons people do what they do. At the end of the day, I think that's our our concept here is there's different reasons people do what they do. So let's look at this one, cognitive load trade, the mental load of scarcity. So a possible perspective could be for some people that savers carry a lot of mental clutter from abundance. So maybe there's a lot to do to manage a lot of money, especially if you don't need it. And then spenders maybe carry an emotional clutter from scarcity, stress. How do I make ends meet? I got to shuffle this to do that, rob Peter, pay Paul. I mean, everybody on this planet, I think at some level has robbed Peter to pay Paul. I certainly did in my 20s to make a car payment, a house payment. You're like, okay, I'll worry about it tomorrow. I don't have food. I'll figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of stress,
And
maybe either way.
I wonder how people, my biological mom has done a fantastic job of making that transition herself and learning that, and now takes care of, like I said, my brother, her mother. She's a caretaker. She assists with my son, Nate, just like you guys do. I wonder what allows or provides somebody the strength to make that shift from scarcity to security.
Sure. It's a great question.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
I think, again, cognitively, the need to survive, but survive and be happy. I don't think it was ever just about money for her. I think it was about providing a joyous and fulfilled life for us, perhaps that she did not have or was kept from her. So I think you kind of just do what you have to do, especially when you're a mom doing it on your own. That's kind of what I had to do. Like, I have to get it together and learn so that I can teach Nate these tools and ways of thinking and not pass down the anxiety. Because like you said, when you're young, you look at your role models, but further than that, your frontal cortex isn't even developed until your late 20s to tell you that something you're hearing, you assume it's fact. So learning that, I think the unlearning is the tricky part.
Oh, absolutely. I think unlearning becomes harder. And I go back to the shame is one thing. Maybe one is just independence. So I think I was born wanting to be independent.
Yeah.
I'm the person that says I don't want to depend on anybody ever, full stop. And, so some of these things, as we were exploring these perspectives, that's definitely me, is I don't want to be dependent on anybody. But it, again, that's not necessarily a healthy thing. We're humans. We are built to be dependent on other people. And, but it at least helps you understand maybe what's a driver to a certain way of responding or a certain way of doing something. And, some of the joy, you mentioned joy, some of the joy can just come out of spending, right? It either gives you emotional joy, or if you're buying gifts for someone or something, there's just a joy factor in spending money. And as long as you have that money, then that makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're spending money to get joy, but you don't really have it, and then you create stress for yourself on the back end of that, then maybe that's something that, I think people need to realize they're not by themselves. There's no one on this planet spending money or saving money that, is new, unique, or first in what they're doing. And, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to share, situations, problems, or skills if you've got a skill in knowing how to manage money.
Definitely. I think too, it always just circles back to the shame aspect for me, just thinking that would possibly be the catalyst that would prevent you from asking for help. I think a lot of people too, who don't necessarily have a lot and receive some type of assistance or aid, get pigeonholed into being like, well, you have too much, or you're entitled to thinking that you need too much help. And in some cases, yes, obviously, like you said, everybody's not the same, but everybody's not necessarily first either. So I think there can be an aspect of, I want to prove that I'm not that, even though I'm in the same situation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So that's a great place to stop. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Maslow's hierarchy because it feeds right into this conversation. This is Walk the Herd at 93.7. We'll be right back.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Day. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th, when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at the 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
Okay, welcome back. This is Walk the Herd at 93.7 The Ticket. Don't forget that you can join in by dropping a chat into YouTube or dropping us a message on one of our social media platforms, texting in at 402-464-5685. Hopefully you're watching us on the Sartor Heyman video stream, channel 961 on Allo, or anywhere else you can find your favorite show. So Walk the Herd with Aniko and Rebecca. Right before the break, we were talking about a lot of different perspectives of spenders and savers. So which one are you, a spender or a saver? Hopefully you can think about what we're mentioning here, particularly if you feel strongly you're one or the other, and if you have an opinion about one or the other based on that. So we were talking about earlier a little bit about survival and shame and these things that, you know, really, if you haven't experienced it, you may not be able to relate to. And one thing I wanted to bring up, Aniko, I know you're familiar with this too, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is, you're familiar with that concept, right? I think we've talked about that before.
Absolutely. Especially with my last job experience, I learned a very large lesson in said needs. So,
well, so for people who aren't familiar with it, Abraham Maslow, the researcher, and in the marketing world, there's a lot of discussion about what motivates people to buy, right? In marketing, it's all about persuasion and getting people to buy products and services. But you need to understand where people are in their hierarchy of needs. And this is very intuitive when you talk about it. But it's basically, if you can imagine a pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about the fact that people can't really deal with some of their other needs until their basic needs are met, which tend to be sort of the physiological needs and safety are kind of the two lower levels of this pyramid. So food, shelter, literally a safe place to be, some kind of security and finances comes into play there in the safety space. And then you start to get things that are more community oriented, love and belonging, being a part of something or a part of a group. Then you have esteem needs, things that give you some joy for yourself. And then there's something called self-actualization, which for years was the top of this pyramid, where you're really thinking about others. And then in recent years, it was thrown out that there's even another level called transcendence. So if this concept interests you, I'll drop a link in the chat so you don't have to look for it. But a lot of what is going on when there is not enough money and people are spending and you don't really understand maybe why somebody is overspending when they don't have money, it could tie to some of these basic needs, like you were talking about, Aniko.
Absolutely. And mine kind of formatted itself in the opposite way where I had finally hustled my way because I don't have the traditional education path. I don't have, necessarily a master. I don't have a master's. I won't say necessarily, but things that others have in the same position I was in, leading a public health coalition for the state of Maryland. And I hustled my way there with my intelligence, with my drive, my skill. And I'm helping over 150 organizations and nonprofits assist the community, developing initiatives, doing period product drives, doing food drives, all these things. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel a part of the team and why I didn't feel like what I was doing was enough or beneficial. And that's what was in the job title. And I realized I was being so overworked that even though I had this bigger paycheck and this government grade of a GS-14 that was in my goal, things I wrote about and manifested, I wasn't able to spend time with my child. I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't able to eat because I was constantly just up working and worrying and thinking about the next big thing, that I never made it to said levels of realizing I am part of this team or could be, or I'm proud of myself for really making a difference because that's what I always wanted to do. But it was like, okay, I got the big paycheck, but now none of the other needs are being met in the way I thought that this money would provide. So it was a lot of introspective reflection that went, I got to rearrange this pyramid a little bit. So
Right, but it's a great way for people who maybe haven't experienced any level of need, or at least of no great significance, to understand that it's just really hard to focus on anything if you don't have those base level of needs. And then when you see people maybe who are spending, who do have those base level of needs, but you don't understand why they're spending on things they're spending on, one way to think about it, or maybe one way to challenge yourself, is to say, well, where are they on these other levels? Love and belonging. Do they have friends? I mean, as crazy as that sounds,
no, literally, do they have time to have friends in
do
what
they have
they do?
time yeah. Do they put in a level of importance on friends? I was one of those people that worked a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends, which was noticeable later in life. It's like, okay, well, you haven't developed any friends, so that's why you don't have any. Not that I don't think I'm deserving of friends. I think I am, but you make your choices. But those things become very important to feel belonging. And this certainly fits in with this show and all the other topics you and I have talked about since we started this, right? This level of belonging. It's why Walk the Herd is so important to us, to hear the unheard perspectives, because every perspective counts. And a lot of this has to do with acceptance, belonging, feeling enough, right? And money just can add to that one way or the other.
It's all in yourself and your values. And I think that also is what wallets reflect, or at least it makes it easier to manage, is when your spending habits reflect your values. Linda brought that to the table for me, a great life coach and writer. And I was like, well, does my spending align with my values? Like, am I, making sure I'm saving so that I can donate to charity one day now that I don't work in it?
Right.
I, personally do not drink or partake in anything like that. Am I going and buying these things for housewarming parties instead of a frame or things like that? Like, I really had to take a look and go, what's important to me?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's a great. Of course, we love Linda. Hopefully, she's listening to us. But we love Linda Babulik. If you don't know who we're talking about, but it's the choices that you have to make, right? And everybody's making their own choices for themselves, and we want everybody to be comfortable that they can reflect. And I think I'd like to say again that you don't have to be alone in your reflections when you're trying to figure out if you have enough money and you want to know what to do with that. If you don't have enough money and you're trying to figure out how to navigate that, you don't need to be alone. And there's nothing positive or negative about being a spender or a saver. There are lots of reasons that people are doing this. And in fact, I know quite a few people, and we have some amazing, amazing people that listen to 93.7 The Ticket, and this is an excellent community here in Lincoln. And we have people who have plenty of money that donate. We have people who, with the few dollars they have, decide to donate to a cause. I can think of one listener that was trying to be a good Samaritan this past weekend, and it didn't quite turn out the way he wanted. And, it was tragic because he just wanted to be a good Samaritan to help someone that didn't have something. And yet, it's hard to break down these barriers. And you have to be patient when you're supporting somebody or working through, why somebody's doing something that they're doing.
And that's interesting. You bring up patience, because I think being able to spend, hits that pleasure center in your brain and is immediate. Being able to spend money or have the act of like, I'm thinking about this, I'm hitting purchase, it's coming in the mail, like getting that rush is immediate. So sometimes our greater efforts, bigger payoff takes a lot more time, and that can be tricky.
Well, it's a great point, and I've been studying this recently for different reasons, but the dopamine hit that you get when you buy, and particularly for people that maybe have trouble controlling the spending and don't know why, it can be certainly a psychological fix for the moment, like people that drink, eat, do drugs, all kinds of vices. I won't list them all out, but we can imagine what all these vices are. And spending can be one of them, and you don't even realize that it's the dopamine hit that makes you feel better. And again, behind that could be a reason that requires someone to reflect a little bit on what's happening in my life. If I feel like I just need to buy stuff because I'm getting, a dopamine hit from that, and I feel good, but then creating stress again in the back end and the aftermath of something like that, that's where having the awareness and not creating shame for someone and not judging somebody on what they're doing, but to maybe try to help them better understand why they're doing it.
Absolutely. And keeping inventory of your own mental health and your habits are very important for someone like me, an individual with bipolar disorder. My number one green sign that I am going into a manic episode is excessive spending. And I'll be like, why don't I have it? I don't even remember what this Amazon package is. It's just here. And I know that I did it. So, but by taking those inventories and journaling and making sure I'm managing my medication, I'm able to pinpoint what that is. But if that's not a topic that's talked about, you're not familiar with, you're undiagnosed, or like I said, again, it's just not talked about by a lot. It goes back to shame. How would you know that that's what's happening to you?
Right. And I think what we're bringing to light, hopefully for people that are listening here, is that in many cases, there are reasons we all do what we do. The greatest understatement I've ever made in the world, and the most obvious thing on the planet, is we all do what we do for a reason, but we're trying to bring these unheard perspectives of the other sides, more than one side perhaps, and what our differences are. And I think, we've talked a lot about scarcity and not having money and spending and all those kinds, but there's equal opportunity in this entire conversation. Has anybody ever known a tightwad? Okay, I'm asking you the rhetorical question on radio, and if I could see you, people could raise their hand, but I'm hoping for those who are listening. Okay, so maybe we'll put Jake on the spot. So have you ever known anybody, Jake, that you consider to be a tightwad?
Like a penny pincher?
Yeah.
Probably myself.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, now you're in the conversation. All right. So here's the question. How much are you willing to share about that? So without giving too many secrets away, what is it that you think makes you be a penny pincher?
Well, just when you were talking about that dopamine you get from spending, I'm thinking the opposite. I'm like, oh man, I'm always just worried about it. I've basically tracked every cent that I've spent and earned since I got out of college 13 years ago.
Whoa.
So I think I got it from my dad. He's kind of the same way. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I think you were saying earlier, I like to be in control and at least know what situation is in front of me. Pretty much down to the dollar.
Yeah. That's great. How do you track your money?
I had an app which apparently has gone. I don't know if my phone's too old, but it's hard to get through. So I feel really upset because it doesn't work as well as it used to.
Oh,
but
man.
yeah, I track it on there and then save, write it all down, save it in my drafts and my email. So
question. Oh, sorry, Jake.
Oh,
My question is like, what does that security feel like? Like that comfortability and lack of anxiety by penny pinching. What does that feel like?
It feels good. I think, obviously you could have more. So
I hear you.
There's always that. Yeah. So it's, part of it too is just, I guess I don't make the most money because I love this job and I love the pay that I get here. But my industry, we'll put it that way, is not one that I'm going to get crazy rich off of. So, I kind of always felt the way of investing and, putting the money, winning the long-term battle. And I think if you learn investing, you can see the potential of $1 or $100. You think about it, what it would be worth at, a small, 9% return could be huge in 30, 60 years, whatever you're kind of looking down the line. So I try to build my nest egg. I've always had my nest egg was my ultimate goal, I guess.
That makes sense. And that's something I'm still learning myself, because I would love to be able to sleep at night knowing that something is making money for me without me hustling myself to death, if that makes sense.
Well, the hustle is a great thing. Maybe we'll take a break. Thank you, Jake, for joining us. We'll pick you up here right after the break. Let's take a break. Walk the Herd, 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sap Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway.
Doing all right, buddy?
Fuel with Sap Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sap Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sapbros.net today. Sap Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Stock up on livestock feed, deer corn, and pine shavings to keep your animals fed and your farm running smoothly. Need tools for your fall projects? Grab DeWalt power tools and grass seed to keep your fields in top shape before winter. From your barn to your backyard, Baumgars has you covered. Get ready for the season with everything you need to finish those fall fix-ups. Baumgars, field, farm, and fall fix-ups.
Are you looking to upgrade your equipment and keep cash in your pocket? Through October at Landmark Implement, get up to a 24-month waiver on select John Deere tractors and combines, or lock in a 2.9% fixed rate for 36 months, followed by a qualified standard rate for another 36 months. Whether you're thinking of this year's harvest or planning ahead, we've got a solution that works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details, or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
All right, welcome back to Walk the Herd. Here we are, O Street, Lincoln, Nebraska. Aniko's streaming in. Jake and I are just laughing. We are ready to carry this conversation to the end here. We're talking about spenders and savers. Which one are you? And we ended right before the break with penny pinchers and tightwads. And Jake was more than gracious in sharing his perspective. And then on the break, we started talking about this, and I was going to ask this question. What are some of the downsides to being a penny pincher or a tightwad? Or what are some of the things that, like pros and cons to all of this? So what have you had any experience of that, Jake?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them. I mean, you're not exactly the most fun guy to go to the bar to, that sort of thing. There's that, but you also find yourself in just those weird situations. I'll book hotels in bad neighborhoods, just looking for the cheapest one. I tried to get paid off cars that I wouldn't have to put payments in. They only last me 6 months or something like that. I ended up losing money on the deal. So there's it can bite back. Yeah, my favorite one is I made my friends travel in the middle of the night, from Las Vegas one year to save like $40. We should have just went in the morning.
Right. Which you ended up blowing because you had to eat food or do something or whatever. Oh my gosh. I was going to say the 3-stop trip on Southwest to save $10.
Yeah, that's right.
I certainly can say that, the thing that takes all day to get anywhere, definitely sketchy hotels. I can anywhere from cheap trash bags because I can't stand to buy, expensive trash bags. And in my older age, I'm more wise, and there is definitely something worth it in buying a good dang trash bag.
Yeah, they smell nice too now. Like you don't even have to. Fabuloso scent. It's great. Not sponsored, but
cram more stuff into it. So hopefully those who are listening to us are getting a chuckle out of this. And I think we wanted to kind of end the whole show with kind of pros and cons of all of this stuff, because we're here at Walk the Herd, where the unheard are heard and every perspective counts. We're really just trying to give you things to think about and to walk another day in someone else's shoes. So what do you think, Aniko? Do you have some pros and cons or some key takeaways from the conversation today?
I think just on the last part that you said, like I have stayed in a lot of nice hotels. Like as a spender, I went to the Gaylord National in Tennessee. I got to, I met Willie Jones on Broadway in Tennessee. I went skydiving in Denver. I've had a lot of great experiences. So that's a pro. But then the con is definitely coming home and being like, ramen for 2 weeks. Yeah. Love that for me. So
not even mac and cheese, but the faux mac and cheese. Has anybody had mac and cheese out of a box? It just really doesn't qualify. Kraft mac and cheese with the powdered stuff.
That's so funny. I only make real mac and cheese on Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's powdered around here.
Well, I'm going to confess, I really love it. So there's a pro. It's cheap. It will fit almost any budget, and it lasts for freaking ever because it never goes bad, because I'm pretty sure there's no real cheese in it. So it can't go bad. And I think it tastes amazing. That's just me. And of course, ramen goes a long way too.
I think I'm also very great at adapting. Like I can navigate or finesse a situation to make something work. And I think that kind of helped me get my job in public health. I'm a big picture thinker. I'm 3 steps ahead because I know my brain in certain times is going to be involved in one step and one step only. And that is that dopamine hit. So I think it's all things are a double-edged sword when it comes to money and finance.
Well, I think the thing to do is to leverage the knowledge. So, I do an ROI on buying the stupid pods for the laundry or the dishwasher, which someone I know that I live closely with prefers the pods. And I'm like, they're not cost effective. You can get so much more out of the liquids or Cascade in a box, and his eyes roll back in his head. He's like, oh my gosh, really? Because the convenience of these pods, it's great. But, if you combine the knowledge, I think for those of us maybe who fit more spending, more of a saving tightwad penny pincher role, we do have a perspective to give the spenders maybe on where it's worth spending a little extra money, like trash bags, where it isn't worth the convenience or the time or the cost of taking 3 flights in the middle of the night and staying in a crappy hotel, because it's really not worth it, right? So maybe a pro is sharing knowledge, and then the spenders, for me, and please feel free to jump in here, is just like, okay, live a little, really. Live a little, treat yourself, get the dopamine hit. You deserve it every once in a while. Like what would you add on to that in our last minute here, Aniko?
I would say that yes, at times, but like you said, the knowledge you've given me on when and where to do that has saved me an exponential amount in even prescription costs for my anxiety medication, because I'm not literally laying up at night worrying about where it's going to come from next or what I've done that I need to undo. So
Right.
I think that happy medium, there's a reason that there needs to be both of us.
100%. And there is no right or wrong, good or bad or anything. All perspectives count. All the knowledge we have, we're throwing Jake in this. He's definitely a good fit for us in this conversation as the penny pincher. So we appreciate it. This is Walk the Herd. Thanks to Aniko, myself. Thanks for joining the show. We will see you next Sunday on 93.7 The Ticket.